Hey friends, welcome back to the Destination Baby and Kids YouTube channel. This is Gina. I'm super excited to be here with you today to do one final video of the evening. We are going to do a comparison video for you between the NUNA MIXX NEXT, which is directly behind me, as well as the Bumbleride Era, which is directly behind me. You can head over to my website, destinationbabykids.com, to buy either of these strollers if you're really inspired by the video. You can also hit like, follow, subscribe. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel if you like what you see. And also, if it makes sense to share this with anybody that you know that might be expecting. Remember, sharing is caring. We love when your video makes it all around the world, gets shared. So go ahead and share the video if it makes sense for you to do that as well. But let's launch right in and talk about what's going to make these strollers special and why I felt a bursting need to compare them. So I think that this is really an important comparison because the NUNA MIXX NEXT is a very, very strong seller for most retail stores across the United States. So if you go into Nordstrom, you go into a independent baby store, really anywhere that NUNA is sold, it's generally the #1 selling product for that store. The reason why is that they have a very beautiful, stylish product, but in addition to that, they're very good at pricing things correct for the perceived value and for what the customer wants. So they have a broad variety of strollers. They have like 10 different strollers. They're all going to hit different price points, do different things. But I would argue that this one that you see right here, this NUNA MIXX NEXT, is definitely their flagship product, meaning that when people talk about NUNA, 9 times out of 10, what they're envisioning is going to be this specific stroller. So the reason why this one does incredibly well, it's at an $800 price point, and what's super unique about it is that it is a modular stroller, meaning the seat faces both directions. So it can face out to the world, it can face the caregiver, and then it also has a lie-flat recline, which would enable you to use this from birth. So while yes, it comes with a car seat adapter, and you can use a car seat directly on the frame, you do have a small contingent of customers that may not be using an infant car seat, or you might just have people that want a lie-flat recline, not even necessarily for a newborn. That would be me. I don't care about a lie-flat for a newborn. That sounds really mean. I just don't care. I would use a car seat. I know myself. That being said, a lie-flat recline for older children runs with an additional benefit of being able to do a diaper change on the go because you always have a flat surface. So if you're at a men's room or someplace maybe that the changing station is disgusting, or a men's room might not even have it, it's nice to know that you could still do a diaper change feature on the go with your stroller. So that's going to be a really cool thing about MIXX NEXT that most other strollers will not be able to replicate. Well, obviously, I would not put it next to this little bad boy right here if this one didn't do the same things. So as you can see, we have that option to go ahead and flip the seat to be parent or caregiver facing. And then we can go ahead and recline this. So this can be completely flat to be able to work for a new baby from birth. So with both of these strollers, we will have the option to put a car seat on there. I'm going to show you that. Don't worry. But the big benefit that people are going to geek out over is that there is no additional purchase necessary to be able to make either one of these work for a newborn directly from birth coming home from the hospital. Another cool thing is that they're going to both be $800 in price. The other cool thing about both of these is that they weigh very, very equivalent. Era is going to be 27 pounds. MIXX NEXT is closer to 30. I don't care what weight they publish. I've lifted it a million times. It's about 29 to 30 pounds with all the stuff on it. So I would give the advantage in terms of being slightly lighter weight to Bumbleride. But if you think about it, the NUNA has a solid rubber tire. Bumbleride has an air inflatable tire. An air inflatable tire is always going to be lighter weight than a tire that has a foam filling in it, or a filling all the way inside of it. It's just going to make it heavier. So that's going to be a big reason why I feel Bumbleride is probably going to be lighter weight. Other differences between these two: Bumbleride has a pivoting handle. NUNA has a telescoping handle. This handle height right here is one of the tallest. I mean, this is coming up to my chest. This is ridiculous. But if you're a taller parent or caregiver with a long stride, very nice feature. I will point out, however, I hate that the starting handle height on this stroller is actually quite tall. So this is still pretty tall for me if I were to get going with a fast-paced walk. After a little while, this is going to start to be frustrating. For me, a low handle height for long walks actually feels considerably more comfortable. So something that might be overlooked here is that you can have a lower handle height, but you can also get a very tall handle height as well. Now, certainly not as tall as this one off the bat, but you can make a purchase from Bumbleride. I believe it's $20. And it is an extension piece that would go there that would add an additional inch or inch and a half. If we added that onto this stroller, we would be able to get a handle height as tall as this. And I'd argue maybe even more effectively, even taller, because pivoting handles have a tendency to go very, very tall upright, but it does pull you slightly closer to the frame. So it'd probably make more sense to set it like that and then put those spacers in just to give you that distance from the frame. So something to be aware of there. The overall starting handle height on MIXX is taller, will go taller, but does not go shorter. Whereas Bumbleride, we could go taller if we wanted to with an additional purchase, but the original heights that are available on it are very, very respectable as it is, so that would not be an issue for me. Handle differences. Bumbleride is using cork, that's more eco-friendly. NUNA uses a vegan leather. So thankfully it's not real leather, but it is vegan leather, so it still looks very cool, but it's vegan. So, on Bumbleride, they're not going to use pieces like that because they don't want any foam, formaldehyde, and again, I don't know the exact construction of the pieces here, but I do know that Bumbleride is a more psychotic company when it comes to their ecology checklist. So they have an eco checklist of all the things that are going to be like more ecologically friendly about this stroller than pretty much anything else on the market. So if that is something that matters to you, the green story, even though NUNA has chemical-free, pretty much everything for the fabrics on it, Bumbleride does a nicer job in the actual construction process and in the recycling process. When you're done with it, you can recycle every single piece. I would argue that they do a better job with their eco story than NUNA does. NUNA is still really safe, excellent, very, very clean product. But if you were looking for something not made in mainland China, which NUNA is, Bumbleride's made in Taiwan. So it is a closed ecosystem in terms of like how they're making this. They own their own factory. With NUNA, it's in a big factory where a number of different products are made, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but just something to be aware of. Okay, so other differences are gonna be Bumbleride, if we wanna fold the stroller, the seat does have to be forward facing. Wait, let's double check that. We'll just make sure, because that's like a big selling point on the NUNA. So I guess you could fold this up with the seat on backward, but it would make no sense whatsoever. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the seat to be forward facing because I think that that will make a more reasonable fold to demonstrate for you guys. So go ahead and you have paddles on the back of the seat, which I'm just putting my fingers on. You collapse the seat down. There's gray tabs here. You engage those. It folds over onto itself. And now it's standing. You can adjust the tires to sit just so that it'll stand more evenly. But as you can see, it's a pretty dang small fold. NUNA does a nice job with their fold as well. So very simple, locks and stands. I would argue that these are roughly the same size. They're both annoying to put into a trunk. So like, one's so much smaller. They're about the same to me. You can always take the seats off and pack and store the seat first and then store the frame separately if that makes more sense for you. I always advocate for that. Packing and stacking makes way more sense than one big idiot thing versus two smaller things. But again, totally your call. You can do it however you like. I'm gonna go ahead and open these up. NUNA is very easy to open. Bumbleride is going to be, I would argue, equally as easy to open. Maybe less bending on Bumbleride, which might be nice if you have a C-section. And then both of these products have really nice ventilation. Bumbleride has a huge canopy. I would argue a bigger canopy than the NUNA. Even with the NUNA fully extended, Bumbleride still gives you, I would argue, a greater level of sun coverage. That matters to me. My sister's kids have red hair, so I really want them to always be shaded. And when we recline this, you can see that's really an insane amount of sun coverage. Whereas if we recline this guy, the canopy piece moves back with the headrest. So I'd argue here, as you can see, we're getting a stronger level of sun coverage, which is really nice. for any of the kiddos. They're gonna get the most sun damage the first 2 years of their life. Okay, so let's talk about other differences. Car seats. If you wanted to do a car seat with the MIXX NEXT, you're gonna have to do a NUNA brand infant seat. So NUNA makes infant seats that range between $350, $400, $450, and $550 for price. This MIXX NEXT I'm showing you is in a fabulous color called Monterey, limited edition to small brick and mortar stores. If you like Monterey, head over to my website, destinationbabykids.com. You can buy the whole dang thing in Monterey. It is beautiful. The fabrics here, as you can see, like heathered, fabulous. The seat is caregiver facing. I am going to be able to adjust that though. If I want to flip the seat around, I can go ahead and turn the adapter around, and now I can have my seat forward facing. Nobody ever, like dads always set it up this way. Women always want the baby to face them. Men generally think kids want to look out at the world. I would argue babies like to look at you for about the first 6 months and then they're just over it. But again, every kiddo is different. So maybe you have kids that like to look at you. My nephews were over it very, very quickly. They were like, I'm sick of you. All right, so if we do the car seat on the Bumbleride, the adapters are not included in the purchase price. And the reason for that is that Bumbleride does not make a car seat. So their goal isn't to also sell you a car seat. Their goal is just to sell you the stroller. And then they make adapters that work with a broad variety of car seats. So again, with NUNA, you are gonna be stuck with just the NUNA brand car seat, and that wouldn't make me sad, but there's some cool features that you'd be enabled to do here that you wouldn't be able to do with the NUNA. And car seat variety is one of those things, so I just want to touch on that briefly. When we put the adapter on, it's pretty easy to set on here on both sides. If you want to stick with more of the ecologically friendly option, super duper safe, you can do Kleck, Ling, which is Kleck's infant seat. You see it fits on here beautifully, clicks on beautifully, super duper safe, made in Canada, recyclable, fabulous. But we could also do a NUNA car seat on here. So if you're like, hey, I really wanted that NUNA car seat, but I think I prefer that Bumbleride stroller, you can do that. The car seat adapters will work with the NUNA. You just line it up, click it on, not terrible. Go ahead and take it off. I prefer taking the Kleck off because it's a single hand squeeze release. I had insight into making it that way. I'm actually the crazy person why they have it that way, but I hate pressing 2 buttons. I'd rather just squeeze a handle. So I put a Cybex on here as well, just to show, because it's really cool. This guy reclines. So if you're like, hey, not only did I like the idea of the seat going fully flat, I want my car seat to recline when it's sitting on the stroller frame, you can do that with the Bumbleride stroller because you have your choice of car seats. So there's 2 different car seats that recline. This one, which is the Cybex, and then there's also a Peg Prego one, which you can buy a secret set of adapters for directly from me at destinationbabykids.com, and I can make that work on here as well. So if you want that Peg Prego lounge, we can do that for you as well to click on here safely, no problem. But then you get the same recline feature that you see here, but with a little bit more typical canopy. These Cybex canopies are always a little unusual. So that's a really nice feature set. And something that I think is really cool, I do like to show these both folded with the adapters on. Adapters there, we're not gonna be able to flip around. So this adapter, I can flip in either direction. I could have that kiddo facing in or out. Here, kiddo's only ever gonna face me. I would argue when they're in this size car seat, that's generally what they wanna be doing anyway. But as you can see, folded up, very easy there. And again, super easy here. I'm gonna make it that like that. Oh, and here's another trick. If you pull the stroller towards yourself, your front wheels flare forward, and that will give you your most compact fold when you're trying to work at a stroller store and impress customers. That's how you do it. And then now it'll stand. My argument for this is that lifting this one again, probably a little easier, just based on the fact that it has the carry handle directly mounted onto it. Whereas with MIXX NEXT carry handle, there is no carry handle. So you sort of pick it up anywhere, I would argue, by the frame. I would not pick it up by the car seat adapter, and I would put it into the car like that. Opening either one of these, again, very simple. Now, why do I feel the need to get into this with you guys? MIXX NEXT is a very strong selling stroller, but there are 2 things about it, well 3 if you count the handle height being too high. There's 3 things about it that I struggle with my consumers that I like to have this one now available so that we can pivot to this if there are things that they don't like about the MIXX NEXT. What could somebody possibly dislike about the MIXX NEXT? Well, For one, I just like the handle height. I told you guys that. It's very tall. Not the end of the world, but just something to be aware of. Another thing that can happen that I hate to point out, because it's the type of thing where if it's not pointed out to you, you might never notice it. There are some strollers or some customers that would never notice this about this stroller. And so if they love it, I don't want to introduce something that might make them end up disliking it. So I never bring this up. Since you're my sweet viewing audience and I like you guys, I am going to tell you what I might not tell someone about this. One of the biggest criticisms is that people feel like it's bouncy and that the frame, for lack of a better word, is cheap. I don't think that's the right term. I think that they don't like that it feels loose and that the tooling isn't very tight. So you can hear, feel, and see that movement. And I'm not going crazy, but that's there. It's really pronounced when the handle's set to taller. And when you turn, I don't know if you guys can see in the video here, but this, if I actually take the seat off because I'm wearing such goofy colors, you might be able to see it more prominently. This has a fair amount of what's referred to as frame sway, meaning the frame sways a little bit from left to right. That is not a bad thing. This is brand new out of a box and it's like this. They're all gonna be like this if you pick a MIXX NEXT. This is endemic of the product. The other thing that I'm not crazy about on MIXX NEXT is, and this is something that my old boss, Patty Rodler at Baby Grand, pointed out to me, and it's very true. With bigger, heavier kids over time, this footrest, I feel, could be improved. There's no heel stirrup on it at all, which I hate. So when kids get bigger, their feet can only go down here. So like where there maybe could be an extra shelf here for their feet to go, there isn't one. So you have big, heavy, older kids that are like sitting in here and they're kind of sliding out and forward and they're like, whoa! And then they're heavy and their heavy legs are on here and it kind of bends it over time. And the seat eventually starts to look a little bit messy. So for a product that is so beautifully designed and so tailored looking, it would annoy me that 2 or 3 years into it, as the body got bigger of the kiddo, maybe not as accommodating as it was for when they were pre-age 2, okay? Bumbleride, I'm gonna argue, does a much better job with the actual seat component fitting a bigger bodied kiddo. Now, NUNA has the reversible, removable liner, which is washable with the mesh backing. That's great and amazing. NUNA also has a magnetic buckle, which makes buckling and unbuckling this an absolute delight, which is great. Beautiful features. Bumbleride buckle is normal, so it's just a typical buckle. Thank God it's not a puzzle clip, so it's very easy. It's not gonna fight you. And then, like I said, the backrest here doesn't have any mesh ventilation on the actual backrest. That's in the canopy. But if you wanted a liner, Bumbleride sells both a reversible liner and they also sell an infant insert, and they also make both of those things in organic cotton. So if you want it in a fun color, you can do that, or if you want it in organic unbleached cotton, they do offer that as a separate accessory as well. This seat is more accommodating. It's about 9 inches deep. You have a 12-inch drop here. You have a full and complete heel stirrup, which is actually very, very generous on this product. I would argue a big bodied kiddo, like 2 or 3 or 4, will fit into this seat more comfortably and fit better for the duration of when you're using it than what you would get out of this seat right here. I think MIXX could have some improvement in the actual seat component area. So still an excellent stroller. It's still like, you know, BMW or Mercedes. It's absolutely fabulous. What you're looking at more with a Bumbleride is more like a Range Rover, Land Rover type scenario. More outdoorsy. Definitely meant for more of the rugged look, but there are other colors of this that don't look so intense. So again, if you did the blue or the black is actually very, very sleek. There's a whole host of colors that you could check out to look at on my website, destinationbabykids.com. And the same is true of the MIXX NEXT. If you go to destinationbabykids.com, type in MIXX NEXT, Monterey is just one color of like 8 or 9 colors that they offer, which is another indication that this is their flagship product. So hopefully this video, again, air tires, solid tires, 2-year warranty, 3-year warranty. You do get an air pump with this and a wrist strap. I forget what comes with this other than the car seat adapter. Maybe a rain shield. I don't know. I'm going to have to look. Sell it all day. You'd think I would know. I don't think it does anymore. I think you buy it separately. Okay, so thank you guys so much for watching. If you have questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. I'll zoom in on those strollers real quick. Please feel free to hit like. Please feel free to subscribe. If it makes sense for you to share this video with a friend, sharing is caring. And if it makes sense to buy these, head over to my website, destinationbabykids.com. I would love for you to buy it from me, especially if you learned about it from me. Go ahead and buy it from me, and we'll send it and sign a little card for you saying thank you so much for watching. And again, thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to check out any of my other videos. I've got a lot, and have a good rest of your evening.